Good morning. I'd like to begin the April meeting of the Somerville Tree Protection Board. Our first item is to approve of the minutes from last meeting, or if there's any questions or discussion.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Our first applicant is from 100 Newcastle Court.
Y'all hear me? You won't be able to hear.
I could, let's just give it a
Right
try.
there is fine.
I didn't catch your name.
Lori Miller.
Lori, Lori, I'm David.
No.
Owner of 100 Newcastle. And I appreciate y'all for approving that one tree to be cut, even though I still got a bunch of roots to cut out of the ground. It would definitely cause a bunch of problems. However, I still have 3 more trees. And I do appreciate y'all being out here to, where I live, we have an HOA and it's nice. A lot of people don't like HOAs, but I like HOAs because you keeps your house nice and clean, painted, grass cut. And it's nice to have people like y'all to prevent people from cutting trees. However, my opinion, and I hate this stuff, do anything, but I would hope that it pertains more to the front yard than the backyard. And the bad thing is with me, I have a corner lot, and being a corner lot, that makes my backyard a whole lot smaller. And I wish it was bigger, and I wish I wanted to cut those trees down so I could put a pool back there. But I can't really put a pool back there because it's not that big, but I've got these 2 trees in my backyard. One is a gum tree, it has these big old stickers balls on it. It's a beautiful tree. But got my next door neighbor. And she is handicapped and she has to walk on those things. And my wife, I hate to say she's a klutz. I love her to death, but she already broke her leg twice and shattered her kneecap. And because the yard is so small, it's just an accident waiting to happen. And the other tree is an acorn tree or a red oak. Red oak is a beautiful tree, but this tree is not very pretty. And it looks like something's going on at the top, wrong kind of crooked and all this. And those roots are actually messing up my patio for the deck on the porch. And bad thing is those acorns, I know this year was an exceptional year for acorns, kind of like pecans every 7 years. It's unbelievable. And I honestly had 3 55-gallon trash cans of nothing but acorns. And those acorns, they don't come up there. And I know I won't have that much. Those things all on my deck. And they get slip. And to say you have to clean that deck off every day, you have to do it every day, so many acorns. And the other bad thing about that tree and the gum tree is that when you're running over with a lawnmower, it breaks windows unbelievable. I've already, and that gum tree, those big old sticky things, it not only broke the window, it went through both panes, double pane windows. It broke both panes coming out of the lawnmower. And I guess I could put a lawnmower to catch them, but to catch the leaves and all that there stuff. But I kind of like to put it back in the ground and let a mulching lawnmower, and they don't mulch up real well. Those big things from that gum tree, is there a proper name for that? I call it a gum tree, but
Sweet gum ball.
sweet gum, yeah. And those sweet gum balls, they just like drive me crazy with that. And the dogs can't even walk on it. They'll start limping. But those trees are probably the most important for safety reasons that I would want. The other tree, which that's kind of a pretty tree. He's also my insurance guy. My insurance limb cuts off over the house, so he's gonna tell me they need to be removed. And yes, that is a beautiful tree if it was growing properly, but there's some rock in the middle. And not only that, I have a water line. You can't see it, but there's like a little swing set over to the left there. That's where my water line is.
Yeah.
And I have that old polybutylene in there and it's over 30 years old. And of course, when I purchased the house a couple of years ago, I had to sign a waiver that I knew it had the polybutylene in there. And I replaced the polybutylene under the house, most of it. But that main line needs to be replaced also. However, that main line, it is, looking at that picture, it is to the left of that tree.
How far to the left is it from the trunk of the tree?
I don't know,
Mhm.
but, I've got almost have another tree that I don't want to mess. It's not real bad, but we've got that, tree to the left. What is that called? It's got the pretty magnolia tree.
Yeah.
So I would be coming in between that. And I would be cutting the roots and I don't want to cut the roots. And then actually where the line goes into the house is just this way of that tree, maybe less than 6 foot. So there's some roots there that I've had to cut also. But I've been a contractor all my life, doing heat and air, and I appreciate people getting permits and if I cut that side of the tree, I'm gonna, what do you want, the integrity of that tree might be hurt. And I wouldn't want to do that. And then not only that, when I say the integrity, it might make the house want to fall on my house. So what I would do, or come to conclude, is there's not much room in between that tree and the fence. That's where I'm gonna cut my ditch witch at. I'm gonna kill those roots in between that tree and fence. So that if I did destroy the integrity of the tree, which hopefully I don't, and maybe it'll survive because most of the roots are gonna be the other way. But if I had a storm, it would fall into the yard rather than on the house. So that's my plan for that tree. It doesn't really bother me as much as the 2 other trees for safety reasons. And that would be my reason why I want to get those trees down.
What about the other roots at the base of this elm that have been cut in the past? When was that done?
Oh,
Excuse me.
got some? Yeah, that was done when I first moved there.
Okay,
And when I said those were big roots. I mean, they grow on top of the ground.
mhm. Why were they cut?
Because they were tearing up the sidewalk and going underneath there.
Mhm.
And underneath the deck, I went underneath the house. I don't think they were from there, but they were true, their roots underneath the house. They're almost 2 inches. Most of them are probably about 1.5 inches, and I believe it was from that tree.
Okay,
And then not only that, that cement, it had already been replaced before I got in there. He told me he replaced it because of that tree, caused it all to crack up.
okay.
So.
Did the previous owner cut the roots or
No, previous owner did not.
you cut the roots? Okay,
I cut the roots because I didn't want it, if it was going to crack. I didn't want it to crack the sidewalk there that he'd already just replaced.
How long ago did you cut the roots?
It was more than a year ago, not quite 2 years ago. But cut the roots, I cut the roots, Caleb. That illegal.
well, sometimes when you cut those structural roots that are close to the trunk of the tree, just
Well,
try not to allow that
yeah,
because
oh, okay, and the other thing is, I didn't want it coming into my, one's on the other side. Well, cutting the grass, and I put a bunch of dirt, I don't know if you saw how much dirt I put there.
Mhm.
The roots they can grow on top of the ground, you don't cut the grass won't grow there. And, but well, if I did wrong, I apologize, but the tree's still good, and I don't. Cutting the roots in between the tree and the fence could be detrimental to the tree. But
okay.
I apologize if I did wrong, but. Cutting the grass and cutting around those roots, you can't cut it with a lawnmower, you have to do the whole thing with a weed eater, and that's a big area. And I put the dirt, there's a bunch of dirt, there's almost 2 yards of dirt out there. So what you saw when those roots were a lot more exposed, and there were more roots exposed than what you saw.
American elms are usually fairly early leafing out. Is that correct? Justin?
I would say they hit about mid-range.
Huh?
I would say about mid-range. Mine's just kind of completing its leafing out process now, so.
Because I saw some things with this tree that I didn't like, particularly a large leader that was showing me reluctance to make leaves, whereas the rest of the tree is just starting to leaf out, but I'm just was wondering at the time and still do, whether or not, the tree is suffering. And with the recent cutting of those large roots, I'm not too sure that there might not be a relationship there, with the decline of the tree. The tree does not, to me, y'all can agree or disagree with me, it does not look vigorous at this point. If I were to make a decision on this tree, I'd almost rather wait a month after it filled out leafing to pass judgment on whether or not I thought it really needed to come down.
And that tree, it'd be okay to save that tree.
I know that. I hear what you're saying, but we're obliged to inform you of defects that do exist. Whether or not they impact safety or risk, which this one could because it's next to the house. That's our responsibility. If you don't want to cut it down, we tell you should cut it down. That's up to you. So any other discussion about the other trees?
Well, I have a little bit more to say about this particular elm tree. The removal of the roots within the last couple of years and then compounding the injury with piling soil on top of it may very well be contributing to the center of the tree not doing well.
Yeah.
That causes compaction of the soil, doesn't give the roots the ability to absorb oxygen as they should. So that's a possibility. But I agree with the chairman that I would prefer to wait a month before making a decision and see what the center of that tree does. I mean, it could be a disease, but we need to see. And so I agree that I'd like to defer judgment on that one for 30 days and then look.
No, we should put dirt on top. Well, you could walk around that tree, it was bad to walk around. And I apologize, I mean, I know ignorance doesn't do anything.
Well, perhaps the former owner should have contacted us if it was doing the kind of destruction that you say. That is often grounds for removal of a tree, rather than jeopardizing by cutting its roots. If it's cracking foundation or a major walkway, that can be grounds to get the tree removed. And he could well have done that instead of going to that trouble, but that's neither here nor there. So any other thoughts about the elm tree?
You've seen it.
Right, as you
Yeah.
told me.
Yeah, I'm okay with, deferring for another month to take a look at the tree. I mean, sometimes you cut those roots like that, it could take years before you start seeing any real evidence that the tree's suffering because of that. But, I think, seeing how it's gonna leaf out this spring would be pretty good evidence whether or not the tree's doing okay or not. But anyway, it's a nice tree, so I say let's wait a month before we decide on anything.
So well, let's move on to the backyard. Comments about, and I'm thoroughly aware, and we all are, of the cyclical nature of acorns being dropped certain years and certain years not.
Yeah, the acorn, that one. When there's a real issue, not only that, the roots are all over the place too, and they are getting underneath that bed. And, I don't know, I didn't take a picture of the roots there, but you can see what's going on.
Well, it's close. We didn't know, did you notice that?
I did not
It
notice.
was
any
not
issues
mentioned
with
in the
that.
description, so I didn't even go.
No, I didn't know
look.
to look.
That's one thing. Acorn. I know this had to be an exceptional year, and when I say what I did with how many acorns. I know it can't be that every year, but you can't walk on that back. I mean, it's just everywhere. It's like all. Right, well, I got to put a rail in there on the back porch. You know, they probably supposed to put a rail in there before I bought the house.
Mm.
They did.
Right.
It's required. Gotta get a rail in there. Those acorns. I love my wife a lot, but I don't want to be taken care of. It's a liability issue, yeah, that tree for sure. And then the other one, it's a liability for her and more so than me. You know, getting them or picking them up, and I would even plant another tree.
Well, if
I
we,
have a big backyard, but I would plant some tree that ain't gonna have acorns. I wouldn't have bought that house if I'd known it had acorns like that.
well, otherwise the tree is quite healthy. So having a lot of acorns in the ground is not necessarily a common reason for us to approve an application to remove. We hear a lot about sweet gumballs, but that's where the name comes to mind immediately. Hadn't heard as much about acorns, but I haven't heard about hickory nuts being a problem for folks. But that's often not a justification. I appreciate the narrowness of the yard. That's a pathway to walk to the backyard. So, but in order to approve a tree like this, we would surely require that you plant another tree.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
I do want another tree, but I want a big tree, and it's not gonna be so little tree. Whatever I plan, it'll be at least 3 to 4 inches, it'll be a nice. I'm not young, I wanna be able to see what's there.
I
I
understand.
wanna plant them, it won't be one of those. Food line.
Yep.
Shrubs, I'll plant something.
Yeah, it
nice.
definitely has to be a canopy tree.
Pardon?
It definitely has to be a canopy tree that
It would-
places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be an oak tree probably, something that's really nice, that doesn't have
Yeah.
acorn.
Okay.
Or a hickory tree.
Well, if it comes to this point, our arborist can help you with the selection of, or the town arborist who you met will help you with the selection of a tree that would most suit what your needs would be.
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned that your insurance agent is here. I'm wondering what, do you have a concern or something that you need to share with us?
I'm concerned with the insurance that it's more about the limbs overhanging the tree and the gumballs and the acorns are a liability concern. The gumballs fill our yard with those gumballs and it's
So you're a neighbor as well as the agent?
correct. I'm at next door neighbor.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're here representing yourself as a neighbor, not as an insurance agent?
That's
Okay.
Hey, Grace on this left, strip.
Right. I just wanted to make sure there was not an insurance issue that we needed to consider that hadn't been mentioned.
Go ahead.
And probably not ever, but.
I was just gonna ask the same thing. From the insurance standpoint, do the acorns or the sweet gumballs, is that a problem? Is that something that y'all look at before providing insurance for a customer?
that's.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's more the limbs over the house though, right? Yeah. Thank you.
I don't want to discuss the sweet gum because I think it needs to stay. They're easier to get picked up, or you can put a catcher on the mower.
I will not.
I really do want to wait on the elm tree for the reasons we mentioned. But I'm pretty torn about the oak. Any
It-
more to say about the oak?
It's just healthy.
Huh?
It is a healthy tree. And so like you, I believe the applicant when he says that this past year has been an issue
Mhm.
with an acorn crop. Certainly, I've seen those bumper crops with all the trees, the oak trees I've got in my yard. But I just don't know that it's a tough decision. And I believe that they may be an issue on the deck and during other years, but it's just darn healthy looking.
It's not. I'm gonna cut the top out. I think y'all put the ribbon all the way up top. Is it hollow up there?
I did not, I sounded it. I did a sonic testing of the trees and both trees were all three trees were solid. So, and that's an approved, an accepted method for testing for decayed wood, at least an initial investigation. So I didn't see anything. It looks like maybe the top might have gotten blown out a little bit during a storm. But I did not see, I looked at it with binoculars. I didn't see any decay that concerned me.
How much can I trim that tree back,
Which one?
that whole tree?
Was it 20% of the canopy, Justin?
Yeah, the recommended percentage is 20% of the live crown.
So you're mainly talking about that branch that we see off to the left in the screen here, correct?
What's that?
We're mainly talking about that branch we see going to the left at the,
Actually, I wanted going up over the porch. That one off, but that tree's already growing weird. What's up there, it's going that way, and then when it gets to that Y there, that's where it looked like something happened once upon a time.
it does.
And it's not, didn't look healthy to me there, but that one trim, leave it, that one that's coming out this way, that's what comes up over the porch.
Right.
I'd like the whole tree, that tree gone, and it's gonna, it'd be nice to have a sidewalk or something to walk on, so you didn't have to trip going over that thing. I don't wanna bring in a bunch of dirt to cover up those roots. It's just in the way, I hate to say, and it's not in a really good location. To me, and, you know, and I've got that yard, backyard is not a big backyard, and I'd like to have something I can go out to and enjoy my backyard. I mean,
how many trees did you say you have in your front yard?
four trees,
And any more than these in the backyard?
those two on the backyard.
Right.
And like I said, that is a pretty tree. But that acorn tree means that it's just in a bad location. That tree that we had removed, you don't have a picture of the ground there. You know, you couldn't, it was covered and couldn't grow grass there. And when I bought the house, I didn't know what was there because the entire backyard was nothing but, pine straw. So I like. And depending on the time of year, my Jeep that I have outside right now, I need a new windshield. The acorn fell while I was going down the road. But those acorns this year were unbelievable. That's
Right.
the main, I mean, and it is a health hazard. You can't walk and the lawnmower won't pick them up and to rake them up, it was a pain in the butt to get on a rake up, and then I had to pick them up with a shovel.
Yeah. I have them in my yard too. I know exactly what you're saying. It's the price you pay sometimes to have a nice tree in your yard too, though.
Yeah, but that, to me, that tree is just, I'd like to have a pretty tree, and I would plant something. That tree.
Well, what about this? We've agreed that we would like to wait 30 days to look at the elm tree again
Yes.
and make a decision. I might suggest that you consider hiring a certified arborist to inspect that oak tree and see if what you see in the top is indeed a problem. Is it causing a structural issue? Might it cause a structural issue in the future? And if that certified arborist thinks that that's the case, then have them write you a letter that says so. And then we might be more amenable. I'm not saying we'll agree with that person because we have certified arborists on board on this board as well. But that might help us to decide whether or not that tree should be removed. Because if we determine that the elm tree should be removed, then that would then be two big canopy trees gone from there, which would not be a good thing. Both those trees are contributing to the ecology of the whole town and your neighborhood. That we need to be very careful in how we make these decisions.
Appreciate all that. And of course, our neighborhood, we have an HOA. And, I say that because of that HOA, we weren't able to cut down trees, and there were some neighbors that had some trees they wanted removed. And then we had that microburst come through there, and those trees ended up falling into their house, and of course, our HOA had to pay for their house. But, I mean, if y'all willing to accept the liability, I'm telling you that these two trees are safety issues. Basically, by me not being able to remove them, y'all would basically be the liable party to why if somebody did get hurt.
Well, not if it's tripping on an acorn.
You would say that.
It's not if it's tripping on an acorn. I don't believe that would be an issue.
Well, I know that's what you're saying. You don't believe, and that's okay. You've got every right to believe that it's not. And I do know that my wife broke her leg in two places. I can show you the picture from slipping on acorns across. And if you want to see those pictures,
Have you
I'm
can,
saying that they are a liability problem because it's a safety issue, and that's why I would love that acorn tree down for safety reasons.
have you considered paying someone to get rid of the acorns? I mean, it costs a whole lot less than cutting the tree down.
How do you make the tree?
No, but there's only a certain number of years when it has the bumper crop, right?
Yeah, I know, but as far as paying somebody to pick up acorns every year or blow them off of my porch twice a day. I mean, I'm serious, not once a day, but you cannot walk on that porch. You gotta blow those things off twice a day. And then not only that, you blow them off, the whole ground is covered with acorn. You can't grow anything in there, but the only thing that comes up is a bunch of little mini red oak trees.
Mhm.
And it is a problem, and it is a safety problem. Even I slip on that. It's not, I'm saying that tree is definitely, for any reason that needs to be cut down, it's mainly for safety. If this tree was out here on the highway and cars running by and they're breaking windshield because of fallen acorns, I guarantee you that tree would be gone. Trees grow. Another 20 years, there'll be another pretty tree that's somewhere. Not that spot, but there will be another 20 pretty tree somewhere.
Any other thoughts?
And I won't have to worry about it going underneath the house or anything like that.
Any other thoughts?
No, not at this time.
I'd like to make a motion that we defer judgment on the elm tree for our purposes to visualize it next month, and for a certified arborist to come, as was suggested, to get into that oak tree and see if there's a true challenging defect where the branches are spreading out. And to write a letter and present it to us so we can evaluate what that arborist has to say.
So as far as safety, you see that tree is not, should not even be concerned, so. That what you're doing?
No, I'm saying we need to see if there's truly a defect in that area which you think there's an issue. We're not allowed to climb up there, or we would.
If that tree was somewhere else, I don't care if it is, it would have been okay with me, but because where that tree is, someone's gonna get hurt.
I understand the point, but that was part of our discussion, and so I would like to include that in the motion that we're gonna be coming back in a month anyhow. So we'd like to get notification from a certified arborist that that there's not an additional defect, which would make our decision easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is not something you have to do. It's just that if you have a letter from a certified arborist that says, yeah, there was a structural defect in this red oak tree, and I'm staking my professional reputation on it, then we certainly will be more uh, amenable to granting removal of the tree. I'm not, just so that you know, I'm not amenable to granting removal for the falling acorns at this juncture.
In addition to the wording of the motion, I recommend disapproval of removing the sweet gum tree. Do I have a
I
second?
second that.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. So we will see you in a month. And could you get some information on the tree to your benefit?
Anything else in the email or something one time? Or we
Oh,
just
yeah.
write it?
Oh, yeah, the town will
Good job.
notify you for sure. Automatic.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your.
Thank you.
bet.
Thank you.
The next application is for 105 Egret Lane. Is there anybody here representing Egret Lane?
It's not.
Okay. So there's another one of these trees that we'd like to look at a little later. I don't know whether, Justin, you got the feeling that, because I don't know how long ago you took your pictures, there was nothing going on except flower buds probably, right?
Right, it was dormant at the time of inspection, so.
So,
wasn't-
and even now, the remains of the florets are still hanging from the tree and leaves are just poking out. I would again, and I'm not sure which species this is. It has reminiscence of a white oak, but yet the bark isn't characteristic. But it made the round lobe leaves where you can find some juvenile shoots. And Belcotta or anybody else like that doesn't make round lobes, it makes pointy ones, and so. And then we interestingly found 3 other individuals of the same species that looked identical. One was a little bit better, but they were all younger and they're all way behind. I'd like to wait to see it in another 30 days. I don't know how anybody else feels.
Yeah, I would too, because we did see examples, other examples in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
And it could be it could be a soil issue. It could be drought related.
Mhm.
I mean, all that's possible, but I'd like to defer it for 30 days and see how it's leafed out. Now, this particular tree does have a lot of epicormic growth along the trunk, but, which is of concern to me, but that may not be an issue.
No, but
We can tell later.
it did look labored, but all of them did, even larger ones in other houses.
Yep,
So,
yep.
Which was, all of a sudden became very interesting. What's going on here?
Yep, I would agree. Looks like all of them are struggling, especially the larger one. But for what reason, I really don't know. But going back later on and taking another look and see if it's producing the foliage like it should would be a good idea.
Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I move to defer judgment on this tree for 30 days, till we can revisit at our next, site visit and, see how it has, flushed out with leaves.
I second it. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Are there any other items of business that we need to discuss? Any questions about anything?
That's it.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.